Yes, good day viewers. It's Mr. Lolo again with another video on my story. So we are still busy with the League of Nations, so we don't really have time to waste here, so we just want to get into the video. Okay, so there we have it. We have our objectives then from obviously from the syllabus. We have our general objective, which says understand to what extent the League of Nations was a success or a failure. Then we have our specific objective, explain to what extent weaknesses of the League's organization made failure inevitable. Okay, learners, when we are talking about the weaknesses of the League of Nations, don't get confused with the failures. Failures, things that they couldn't do. Conflict that they could not solve successfully. Those were categorized as failures. Conflicts that were solved successfully, those were categorized as successes. So don't get confused between failures and successes of the League with the weaknesses of the League. So we want to understand to which extent the League's organization, the organizing of the League, how the League was organized, the structure of the League. How did that make it weak? You know, that's what we want to comprehend here. So you already know the weaknesses of the League of Nations. In terms of its organization, like the setting up of the League of Nations, they are telling us that 3 of the world's most powerful countries did not join the League of Nations when it was formed in 1920. So these countries were Russia, Germany, and very surprisingly the USA. So we really don't have time to waste here. So in other words, the organization, the members of the League, if the USA, Germany, and Russia had joined, then I believe that the League would have been taken more seriously instead of just Britain, France, Italy, Japan, and the rest of those smaller, less powerful countries. Okay, so now we want to look at the reasons why these countries did not become part of the League in 1990. We identified the 3 countries that did not join the League when it was born or when it was conceived. Now we are going to look at the reasons why these countries did not become part of the League. So I hope it's very clear. So they are saying that for Russia, the Russian government had set up an organization called the Committee to encourage communist revolutions worldwide. Member countries such as Britain and France disliked communism. Therefore, Russia had to be kept out of the League. It was only allowed to join in 1984. So if they ask you in grade 11 examination question paper or something like that, maybe a question, describe the reasons why Russia did not become part of the League in 1990, you tell them that, you tell them that Russia was following the policy, or they had started with communist revolutions. Then these other countries, Britain and France, who were the main members of the League of Nations, did not like communism. So you have your keyword there, communism. So we have the second one, Germany. They were kept out of the league at first. They were allowed to join in 1926, and then when Hitler came to power, they decided to, get away from the League of Nations again. Actually, they just abandoned the idea of being part of the League of Nations. So they are saying that majority of Germans were not in favor of the League. They could not forget the harsh punishment of the Treaty of Versailles. The League upheld all the terms of the treaty, which the Germans hated so much. The League's organizations constitution was actually just the Treaty of Versailles. That's why Germany did not really want to be part of it. Even if Germany had wanted to be part of the League of Nations when it was conceived, Germany would have not been allowed to join the Treaty of Versailles because of Britain and France. They believed that Germany was to blame for the outbreak of the First World War. So they had to be responsible or accountable for the damages that was incurred, or the damages that was experienced by the people at that time. So we have the USA. The USA never became a member of the League of Nations. It was contradictory, since it was President Wilson of the USA who suggested the setting up of the League, but the United States Senate voted against joining. They were following the policy of isolation. So in other words, you have a diplomat, Woodrow Wilson, the President Woodrow Wilson from the USA, who comes up with this great idea, the 14 points. Within those 14 points is proposing the idea of setting up a League of Nations that will be responsible for maintaining world peace worldwide. I don't know why I said world peace worldwide. Suppose they have to say worldwide. Oh yeah, it does not really matter at this point. But the main point here is that the USA, Woodrow Wilson, was the forerunner of the League of Nations. But then at the end of the day, the United States Senate, that is like the highest law-making body in the United States. It's like more of a parliament or something. They voted against joining, so they did not want to be part of the League of Nations. They were following the policy of isolation. In other words, they did not want to involve themselves with other worldly matters. They just wanted to deal with matters that were within their boundaries or within their borders. So I hope that is clear. We move on. Now we want to look at how the League was affected by the absence of the three superpowers in 1990. Learners or historians or whoever is that, viewers, you know, I'm a guy that, like, when we are talking about the history, I don't know. That's where you hear me, or that's where you see me wearing a suit just because of history. I don't know, because I like explaining these things, because I don't know, to me I just feel like someone who is watching out there might catch something, and help them. So now we want to understand how the League was affected without those three superpowers. So they are telling you that without the three powerful countries, the reputation and the status of the League were reduced. It therefore had very little power to make countries obey its rules. the structure and organization of the league were also sure to fail. If all the great powers were actively involved in the operations of the league and backed its actions, the league could have functioned properly with fewer problems from member countries. That statement itself is very clear. I don't really need to explain on it because of time. Just like I said, my videos, they run only up to 15 minutes, and as you can see, time is not really there. They are also saying the other reasons how the league was affected was the league was not able to enforce its decision regarding sanctions and actions against aggressor state. The league could not rely on members to apply sanctions against an aggressive country because it had no power. They are also saying that member countries looked after their own interests and obeyed the rules of the league only when it suited them. The league had no power to stop aggressive countries from making war. The simple reasons was that the league had no full-time armed forces of its own to see that its decisions were obeyed and carried out. The league also could not rely on member countries to provide soldiers in cases of emergency. Just like we said, if the USA, Russia, Germany had been part of the League of Nations would have been taken more seriously, because the USA is rich in terms of capital, Russia is rich in terms of military equipment, all those things. Then Germany had a large population, a population that was very, very intelligent. Very intelligent population. Scientists who were capable of inventing, new things that could be used. But there you have it. There's no need for me to go deeper into it. And also the other thing is the interest. The League of Nations, or the Britain and France, them and Italy, they are only there for their interest, not the interest of the other people. So we continue with how the league was affected by the absence of the three superpowers in 1990. So this slide is going to be quick because time is not on my side. They are saying that the two strongest members of the league, Britain and France, had to take greater responsibility for the effectiveness of the league. Both countries were not prepared to do so, as neither was prepared to involve their military forces in the league's affair, because their forces were already reduced by the First World War. Neither Britain nor France had much faith in the league. Britain and France started to form alliances and signed agreements with other countries. The smaller, weaker countries were dependent on international peace for their survival, therefore they supported the league. However, these countries were not militarily strong enough to assist the league in its work of maintaining world peace. Last reason is some countries, Germany and Italy and Japan, were unhappy with the peace treaty made after 1918. This country claimed that they had been treated unfairly when the treaties were set up. As a result, these countries did not show interest in the league and became aggressive nationalist countries in the 1930s. So that's why we can conclude by this statement also to another video that we did on the successes and failures of the league in the 1930s. So in the 1930s, the league did not really have so much successes. Only one or two we can mention humanitarian successes, but they did not really have so much successes. They only had a lot of failure, because at this point countries, they are becoming aggressive towards smaller countries. They want to invade other countries for territory. They want to invade other countries for resources and all that nonsense. So you have your self-assessment questions there. Why the USA never joined the League of Nations? Name two other countries who did not join the League in 1919. How effective was British and French domination of the League of Nations? So from me, my story here with Mr Mbware, this is how we do it. There's no other way that we can do it. So if you like what I do, please subscribe to the channel And also